everyone, it's Chelsea from Paper Octio Studio, and today I am sharing with you my layout for the what is called now the My Year 2017 Facebook group. And this is an art journal that I made to go along with their prompts, the group's prompts and projects and stuff, and oh boy, do they have a lot of stuff in that group. And I can't do all the stuff that they are showing in there. I really don't even have time to watch all their videos, but it's all great stuff. So if you are new to art journaling or you want some inspiration, you should go join that group, My Year 2017. They have a lot of videos and things to help you out and show you new techniques and stuff like that. So this month, the overall theme was crayons, markers, and pencils. So that's what I'm going to be using on my other page. But as I've been doing throughout this book, on the facing page of my main page, I've been putting some of the projects that I completed during the month. This is April's, by the way. I don't know if I said that or not. Yeah, I know it's May, but I just got around to this, okay? April was a hard month. May's not going to be any better. So I am just like doing a quick background on this facing page. This is the one that has March's main page on the other side. And I designed this journal and made this journal so that I could take the pages out and work on them individually. That's how come it's attached with those little ring things. But did I remember that when I was doing this? No, not for a while. I figured it out eventually. But all I'm doing is just, I put on some water-soluble color using this Gelatos, and then I'm blending it with some white gesso. This is where I finally figured out, yeah, I should take that out of the book. It does not have to stay in the book. So then that looked pretty streaky, and I wanted to add a little bit more interest and elements of something on there. So I just went over it with my 2-inch sprayer and some white gesso just to kind of push it to the background. The whole idea is I'm blending it in with this piece of Japanese paper that I was sent in Happy Mail. And the whole theme of this month's 2-page spread is the trip I took in April. I'm trying to keep track of things in this journal. It's about things that happened during the year. So as I said at the beginning of the year, I'm going to be traveling a lot with my mother, and we did go on a trip up to northern Arizona, to Flagstaff, Arizona for a week, and met my best friend and her mom up there, and we stayed in a cabin and did a lot of the stuff up there that's local. A lot of interesting stuff. We went to the Grand Canyon, you know, all the touristy stuff, plus a few extra things. Went to a lot of good restaurants. There's some real fun, interesting restaurants there. A lot of college students and hipsters up there. So we had a lot of fun, and that's like the thing that happened in April. So that's what I'm focusing on. So one of the things that we did do was to go up to the volcanic national monument. There's a volcano there that's like, even hundreds of years later, still it's just, you know, black dried up lava, and you know, you can see the blast pattern and the lava where it all flowed and everything. It's really an interesting thing to go see if you've never seen that type of thing before. So I figured I would put this piece of Japanese paper that has a volcano on it on this page, along with a tag that I made this month and an ATC that I made this month. Just kind of keeping some of those little projects that I do on videos in a journal to kind of, I don't know, it gives kind of a timeline for when I did what, for me to remember. Like this tag right here was the one that I used all embossing powders on. I painted it with embossing powders. And then this ATC was the one that I used the vegetables to stamp. and both of those were kind of different and interesting, so I just wanted to retain a record of that. So I put those in there along with the little calendar, and then I wrote Flagstaff on there so that I remembered that that's the trip that I took in the month of April. So then this is the main page. So this will be the one on the other side that goes next to it. And I drive up to the Sedona area and the Flagstaff area of northern Arizona quite a bit. I have a relative up there who's in college. I go visit. Also, we like to go to Sedona, Arizona, which is south and west of Flagstaff, but pretty close. So as I'm driving up there, it's about a 4-hour drive. It's a fairly easy drive, but what's so interesting about it to me personally, because I'm inspired by nature and I'm always looking around at nature, is that you start on the flat, hot part of Arizona, which is a desert, and down here in southern Arizona where I live, and also in like the Phoenix area, there's a lot of saguaro forests. That's the big cactus that has the arms that you think of as a cactus. There's a lot of desert vegetation and red and yellow sand and rocks. And so you're driving through that for like a couple hours, and to get between Tucson and Phoenix, very flat. Then when you get out of Phoenix and start to go up the hill, it's quite a hill. I mean, people think about Arizona as being a desert, but it's not all desert here. We actually have this gigantic mountain, right? So the thing that I find interesting is the plant life and how it changes at elevations, and how certain plants will not grow past an elevation and certain plants will. So when you hit this line of demarcation as you're driving up the hill, and there are no more saguaros, and that's it, they're done. And you keep driving up this, pretty heavy grade, and then you start to get this smell. It's a smell, it changes, and you realize that you've hit the elevation where the junipers grow. And that's all there is. It's like flat at the top of the mountain with this yellow grass and junipers, and they have a very strong smell. Some would say stinky. And then you continue up the hill, and then you hit this place where all of a sudden there's pine trees. Tall pine trees. The pine trees won't grow down where the junipers are, and the junipers don't grow up in where the pine trees are. So if you're paying attention, it's really interesting. So that is what I did on my page here on my drawing. And of course, remember, it's crayons, markers, and pencils. Something that I like to do with crayons, and that's what I'm doing right now, probably the only thing I like to do with crayons, just, plain cheap crayons, is a crayon resist technique. And you can make some really fun and cool backgrounds with that. This actual, like, kind of whimsical, childish drawing that I'm doing doesn't lend itself very well to all the really cool stuff you can do with crayon resist, but I did use it. I just kind of went over some of the lines quickly with the white crayon, and as I'm putting this watercolor on, you see that, like there by the highway, it's left a white line where the water-soluble media won't go over it. It resists it. So I did use a crayon, and later I used some of my watercolor crayons, but all I was doing was just trying to show, okay, you're driving up the hill, you hit the junipers, you're driving up the hill, you hit the very tall pine trees, and then I drew a little cabin up there at the top in what would be Flagstaff. And then another thing I forgot to mention, you get to a certain point where you see this gigantic mountain in the distance. It's just sticking up above everything else, and it has snow at the top. Almost always has snow at the top, and it's where the skiing area is. That's called Snow Bowl. I've never actually been up there, but that's what that final mountain, the very pointy mountain, is in the back with the white at the top. That's the Snow Bowl one. So I'm using this same old Koi Travel watercolors that you've seen me use in several videos lately. Been using them a lot. And this is a nice golden Taklon watercolor brush by Uricht. I don't know how to say the word. It's Urecht, I think. And I will link both of those products as well as anything else that I'm using in the description box below the video in case you need to find it. But I'm really happy with these very thirsty brushes that I got at Blick several months ago. And so that's what I've been using with my watercolors, messing with it quite a bit. I'm no watercolor professional at all, like at all. I really have no skills at all with watercolor. Just playing with it, just having fun. And this is watercolor paper that I made this art journal out of. I started out with 9 by 12 sheets, and then I cut them off and made them 9 by 9 square. And then that's how I made the journal originally. I'll try to remember to link that video about making the journal and making the covers of the journal in the information card in the upper right hand corner of the screen. If you hover over that, you'll see a little eye in a circle, and if you click on that, it'll give you the link to other videos that go along with this video. So I'm trying to also show the differences in the elevations by what color I'm using as a background for these pieces. The mountain is dark in the background, and then we've got the raw sienna, burnt sienna, reddish iron tones at the bottom. That's the desert color. That's what color is predominant where I live. And then kind of switching to a yellowish tan, which is what you get when you get up to the juniper bush area. And then as we were driving, there was actually a lot of wildflowers, so I'll try to put some of those in. And it was pretty green up in the mountains, but then the day that we left, it snowed, like a huge snowstorm as we were leaving. And it had been green, and you could see that the trees were leaving out and budding out, and lots of wildflowers and stuff. And then it just, bam, it just snowed. And apparently that's not that unusual up there. In Flagstaff, it does that a lot. It has very unpredictable weather. But you've probably just learned way more than you intended to about where I live and the state of Arizona and the country of the United States, and how different it is depending on what elevations you are at. But so I finished up using the regular watercolors, and now I've got out my Neocolor 2 watercolor crayons. Excuse me, my throat is driving me crazy. And I'm just trying to define some of these plants at the bottom. I've got some saguaro cactuses and some prickly pear cactuses and some ocotillos. You know, the name of my channel and my blog and everything is Paper Ocotillo Studio. It's because my favorite plant around my area is the ocotillo, and it's like a bunch of sticks that they come out from a base and they all go up, and then instead of having branches like leaves, you know, branches that come out with leaves on the ends like a tree, we just have these sticks sticking up, and then in the spring they get all these little tiny leaves all around the sticks, like they just get covered with green leaves, and then when they bloom, the tops of them are red. And I just think they're the coolest plant ever. In the winter, they just look like gray sticks because they lose out all the vegetation on them, and then they get, you know, the green, dark green leaves all around the sticks, all over the sticks, like fur kind of. And then at the top, they get the red flowers. Just right at the top, it just all turns red. So I drew in a few of those too. You see those as you're driving. Ocotillos like lime, so they grow in areas where there's like a lot of limestone caves underneath. So if you're looking for caves in Arizona, that's a good place to look, is where there's a bunch of ocotillos growing on top of a hill. So then I get out my Inktense pencils. These are a water-soluble pencil that is permanent when dry, but can definitely be blended using a watercolor brush. So it's still technically a water media product until such time as it's dry. Then it becomes permanently on there forever. Different type of pencils. So I got different crayons, different pencils. I started out with a graphite pencil, and then I went to a crayon, and then I went to watercolor, and then I went to watercolor crayon, and then I went to Inktense pencil, and I am even going to pull out some pastel pencil in a second. I wanted to add some color over the top of the watercolor, and pastel pencils work pretty well for that because they are opaque. So unlike water-soluble media, like all the other things I was using, I couldn't draw over the top and get a nice bright color to put in my little wildflowers and blooming cactus and stuff like that because they're not opaque, but the pastel pencils are. So I got those out and put on some blooms onto my flowers. I know this drawing is a little bit childish and whimsical, but you know what? That's the type of illustration that I enjoy. So, you know, it's not realistic. So then I went back to the Inktense pencils, and I'm just coloring in my cabin really quick. I'm gonna color it in with the pencils and then activate those pencils using a water brush. No, not a water brush, a regular watercolor brush, a smaller one though, so that I can get into the fine areas. If you're enjoying this video, I hope that you will give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment so I know that you were here. Share it if you want to, subscribe if you haven't already, and a new thing that I'm telling you guys about is to turn on that little notification bell. YouTube has made some changes to their algorithm recently. Everybody's up in arms, so if you watch other types of YouTube videos, you might have heard people being mad, but I can see why, because my views have gone down dramatically. So what they did to make the change gives me a lot less views. So they may not show you my video when it comes out unless you turn on the notification bell. So yeah, sorry about that, but I'm not a big notification person myself. I don't like notifications to come on my phone very often. Some other people that I know have the notifications on, and they get notified of Twitter, and they get notified of Instagram, and the blog and the blog, whatever. I don't have all that stuff, so I don't usually turn notifications on. I figure if I want to find something, I can go look for it myself without being, having my phone or my computer tell me about it. But in this case, you might not ever see my videos if you don't turn it on, because they have changed the way they're showing and recommending things, even if you're subscribed. If you're subscribed, you should see my video, right? It makes sense, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm not sure exactly what happened, and I'm not going to spend a bunch of time trying to figure it out either. I just know it's changed, and so I recommend that you turn on the notification bell. That's all I have to say about it. So I've got some Posca pins out. This is my markers in the prompt, and I'm adding snow, a little bit of snow around the top of everything on my cabin and stuff, and then using the white Posca pen to put on some of the blooms onto the swirls. Their blooms are white. And then I shake the pen across the top of the page and put on some splatters for snow. And then I just write, it's supposed to say crayons, markers, and pencils. It says crayons, pencils, and markers. Sorry. And then April. And that's pretty much page done. Put it back in my little journal. And then I say, I think it needs a border. Did I take it back out? No, I should have just taken it back out, but I was too lazy. So I do a gray archival ink watering can gray border with a sponge while still leaving it in the book. I don't know why. So anyway, that's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.